this. There we go. Her fancy gloves. I love it. All right, so we're going to go back and do some review on the amino acids. Now, you've had the last 4 days to work on and finish up that first Purina module. And so that is going to be due, I've extended, I think it's due by the end of today. So if you will upload your certificate into the Moodle for just for the first one, for the Daily Nutrition Matters 101. Not all 3. You don't have to have finished all 3, just the first one that you should have been working on this week. So you'll go ahead and upload that. So let me get in, come on, there we go. All right. So let's go back, just because it's been what seems to be like a 1.5 years since we've done anything with proteins. Oh, Sean, so the first one is a thermos, and they're really nice swag prizes. I mean, they're really, considering you have to do it
really
anyway.
cool. I like it.
Yeah, it's a really nice thermal mug. I don't know what the other prizes. Back when I first did it, you got a mug, a really fantastic heavy duty backpack, and a digital watch was the third one. I don't know what they are now. I think at one point they were giving out headphones.
Yeah, I was really weirded out whenever I first got the email from UPS saying that I had a package from Purina coming. I was like, did I accidentally order something?
You're like, oh, hate that when you have too many blue sodas and decide to go on Amazon and you're like, oh God, what did I order? Oh,
That
no.
wasn't me. That was the other me.
Yeah. So if you are having trouble and you need to contact them, just let me know. Just let me know, and I will I'll reopen it so that you can submit it. But for everyone that has been working on it, if you are having trouble with the company, though, I haven't, the Daily Purina Matters, excuse me, is not something that I manage. So, but they do have a pretty great customer service. So if you're having troubles, you can usually contact them and they'll get right back with you. So, oh, a book bag. Yeah, some great swag. I'm sure, I don't know, Sarah, you might want to contact them and find out where your swag is, because it's pretty great. All right, so let's go ahead and just do some general review just to catch us back up to where we were. So we've been talking about proteins. The Legos that build proteins are amino acids. And proteins, as we've said, are the most abundant organic molecule in your body. Everything is made of amino acids. Everything right down to your very DNA is made of amino acids. You have free amino acids just floating around that we can use to create other things. Because of the diversity of what we can build with these amino acids, means that the types of Legos we have are also very diverse. When we say amino acids, and I'm referring to them now as Legos, we have all different colors and shapes and sizes of Legos. Every amino acid is represented by a different color, shape, or size. And depending on the difference in the number of Legos you have, that will increase the number of things you can build, right? Makes sense. If you only have 2 types of Lego, you're very limited in what you can build. But if you have an entire box of all colors and shapes and sizes, there's no end to what you can build. That's what we're talking about when we say the amino acid profile. What contribution of Legos do we have? So when you eat the chicken in the Chipotle burrito, the chicken has a building the building of chicken is made of Legos. And we have to then pull apart those Legos. And what your body then does is catalog, okay, well, what kind of Legos did I get out of this building of chicken? And the more different kinds of Legos I have, the better off I am to build new things. So that's the whole point of amino acids and proteins. So amino acids are an organic compound. All of the three nutrients we've been talking about are organic, meaning that they do have a hydrocarbon base or backbone. And amino acids do occur in both plant and animal sources. Now you get different kinds of Legos from plants than you do from animals. Some of the Legos that you get from animals, you can't get from plants. And some of those Legos in some animals are required. And that's what makes cats obligate carnivores, meaning they have to get some of their Legos from animal sources because that's the only place they can get them. There are other Legos in plant sources that we can use, and depending on what kind of species you are, like obviously if you're a cow, you're getting all of your amino acids from a plant source. You're getting your Legos from the plant. If you're an omnivore, you're getting them from both plant and animal sources. And then cats have some that they have to only get from animals, making them a carnivore. Now we have what are called essential, and this is the same terminology we've used before, guys. Essential means I have to take the Legos in from an outside source. Non-essential means I can take those Legos and bippity boppity boo, turn them into a different type of protein. I don't have to take those proteins in my diet, meaning that they are non-essential. Doesn't mean I don't need them. It just means I don't have to take them in my diet. My body can create them for themselves. And here was our list of essential and non-essential amino acids. And so we are going to be going over right here the essential amino acids. These are all of the Legos that I need. And so for every one of these names, arginine, histidine, isoleucine, each one of these names represents a different color, shape, and size of Lego. Let's say arginine is a blue Lego, histidine is a red Lego, isoleucine is a yellow Lego, and going on and on. And I can take these Legos, these essential Legos, and combine them to make these alternate proteins. But because I can do these with the Legos I'm taking in, I don't have to take these in from an outside source. So amino acids are the building blocks of proteins. They are the Legos. And what do? Well, they do everything in your body. Proteins are the most diverse job of anything in your body. They control your metabolism, which is the rate and efficiency with which your body uses all of these nutrients. It creates the skin of your cell, the cell membrane. It makes your muscle fibers. It helps with your tissue growth and repair. It serves as enzymes, which are things that turn stuff on and off in your body. It creates and controls hormones, which are also things that cause big sweeping changes in your body. They create your stranger danger. How do I identify different sources of threat and decide what kind of attack to launch against them? So this is all protein. Proteins do all of this. And protein Legos can also join other Legos. So I could have a protein Lego and a carbohydrate or a sugar Lego and click them together. Or I could have a fat Lego and a protein Lego and click them together and make more and more complicated molecules. So proteins really are kind of the slippery slope where they can really just pretty much do and join any other thing. They're really pretty amazing. Here we have our recommended protein percentages. We saw this chart last week. We know that puppies need a higher percentage of protein Legos because they're growing. We need the building blocks to allow them to grow and develop and build muscle and build organs and build immunity. You can't build stuff without, without the materials to do that. Once they finish growing, we no longer need that amount of building materials. And that's when you can drop down the amount of protein. And then depending on the activity, you have performance dogs, which would be like agility dogs, racing dogs, show dogs, working dogs. Anything that is causing them to need more of those building blocks, maybe they're breaking down muscle faster and they need the building blocks to help build up the muscle. Racing sled dogs, like your Iditarod dogs, they're breaking down massive amounts of muscle. And so we need the building blocks to rebuild that back up. And then, of course, lactating and gestating animals are growing things inside of them. And we need the Legos to do that. So then we started talking about, how do I know? How do I know if this is a good quality protein, meaning that I have a lot of different kinds of Legos and they're very easy to pull apart? That's the definition of a high quality protein. It's easy to pull apart and I get a lot of different Legos. Low quality protein would be super hard to pull apart and I don't get a whole lot of Legos out of it. I am very limited in what I can build. So the first test we discussed last week was the net protein utilization. And all this is comparing the Legos of our protein to something else that we already know is very high quality. And usually we use egg protein. Egg is like the perfect protein. If you wanted to go into bizarro, like hypothetical world, if you ate nothing but eggs, now obviously, can you do that? No, because you need carbs and fats and vitamins and minerals. But theoretically, if you ate nothing but eggs, you would never have to poop. Because I see Charles's face. So egg is the perfect protein. You eat the egg, and the egg is made of Legos. The egg then goes into your intestines, and all of the Legos get pulled apart, and all of the Legos get used for other things. Well, if you have nothing left over, there's nothing to get rid of. So if you ate nothing but eggs, don't try this because we're in bizarro hypothetical land. If you truly ate nothing but eggs, trust me, you'd have stuff coming out of your butt. You would be pooping like crazy. But in bizarro hypothetical land, if we're just looking at the composite of the protein itself, your body uses 100% of it. So eggs are a wonderful source of protein. So what I'm going to do with this utilization is I'm going to compare my protein to the egg protein and see how it stacks up. The amino acid score is exactly what it sounds like. I take my protein, I take my structure made of Legos, and I see what kind of contribution how many blue ones do I have? How many yellow ones do I have? How many red ones? The more difference in colors and shapes and sizes, the better the protein, because I'm getting all of the Legos that I need from this one protein. So the score is, I'm just doing that. I literally have a checklist and I'm like, okay, do I have blue Legos? Check. Do I have red Legos? Check. Do I have yellow Legos? Check. And I'm just going down the line and seeing what contribution is each one making to my protein. The efficiency ratio is just that. How efficiently does my body use the proteins? And this is where we took our little baby chick and we measured it, we weighed it. And then we fed it a source of Legos and we weigh it again. Depending on how efficiently that baby chick uses the Legos will determine how much weight does it gain. How effectively are the Legos being put to use in the body? So that's the efficiency ratio. How efficiently are the Legos being used? And then finally, we had the test of the biological value. And what this is just measuring what goes in versus what comes out. The difference is what your body used. Excuse me. So ultimately, we would want high quality protein all of the times. All of the times we want high quality protein. However, there are some specific times where you really need to make sure that we have all of the Legos. Like during growth, physical exertion, anytime I'm building new structures or creating new structures, I need the building blocks to do that. If I want to go into my backyard and build a shed, well, I need all of the things like the wood and the nails and the tools to do that. That's the protein. Pregnancy and lactation. Well, again, I'm building things. I need the tools and the resources. Protein provides that. Repair of damaged tissues. So in every single one of these scenarios, I'm building something, I'm doing something, and I need the resources to do that. So here we had our picture, our exercise, pregnancy, lactation, growth. Look at the babies with these little winkles. Now, the thing is about these Legos versus our carbohydrate and fats. Carbs and fats get stored in your body so that we can break them down and use them for a later time. Proteins, not so much. Proteins don't really get stored. You use them or you get rid of them. It's not like I said before, I couldn't have, eaten nothing but protein for 2 weeks and come in super jacked. It doesn't work that way. My body's going to use the Legos for what it needs, get rid of the rest. And so our signs of a protein deficiency. Well, this is kind of common sensey. All of the things that I need Legos to build, if I don't have the things, I can't build. I don't have wood, nails, shingles to build a shed. Therefore, I can't build a shed. So if you think about, if my muscles need amino acids, Legos, to rebuild themselves, if I don't have them, I can't rebuild them. It's going to cause weight loss. My hair, which is now super, super short. My hair is made of Legos. If I don't have them, I can't build nice, strong hair. Anorexia, we talked about this last week, about how the animal is going to lose its appetite. And this is just kind of a safeguard against going insane. Your immune system, remember the pen that we're using to write down stranger danger, made of protein. Without protein, I don't have a pen. Can't write anything down. Ooh. Sorry, hang on one second. Little spasm. Mentally, not going to be there. I'm not teaching this dog any new tricks. Oh, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for the comments on my hair. I have not had a haircut since before COVID. And I went to this new lady around the corner from me I'd never tried before. And she was very funny. She's asking me, well, who cut your hair before now? And I said, I did a YouTube and I cut it myself. She's like, oh, that explains it. That explains this line back here. It explains so much. All right, pormentation. Well, again, we're not teaching this guy any tricks. We're going to have fluid leaking out into the tissues, which is the definition of edema. And then eventually you're going to die. Protein deficiency. Now, house of cards, house of cards. If I'm missing even a single Lego, I can't build different structures. Like, think of them again, like a puzzle, a Lego puzzle. If I'm missing part, I can't build it. So for example, these are just some general examples. There's a Lego called Arginine. Now, I keep calling them Legos. In my mind, the Lego is the amino acid. Is everybody okay with the analogy of the Lego? Fabulous. So arginine, the amino acid arginine, one of the things that it does is it helps to prevent ammonia from building up in your blood. Every time you have a reaction in your body, you have a toxin associated with it that we have to get rid of. Ammonia happens to be one of the things that our body produces. And arginine is the thing that helps us get rid of that ammonia. Ammonia is like bleach. If you injected bleach into your body, you would die. Arginine is the thing that gets rid of the naturally occurring bleach in your blood. Without arginine, you can't get rid of it and you die. Your kidneys will fail and it will kill you. And then cats and their kidneys don't get along on the best of days. Cats and kidneys are constantly at war with each other. And the kidneys are what ultimately gets rid of that nitrogen, that ammonia. And arginine is what helps to do that. Well, if the cat does not have arginine and it builds up the ammonia, their kidneys are not going to work and it's going to kill them. Death by arginine deficiency. Here we have methionine and cysteine. Those are just two other different kinds of Legos. Oh, does somebody have a question?
Oh, sorry.
No worries, no worries. Just make sure if you're unmuted, mute yourself unless you have a question, of course. Methionine and cysteine, weight loss. Taurine. Taurine in cats is a very important Lego for them to see and to keep their heart working. Now, some animals use the Legos differently than others. Some animals use these amino acids differently. Cats specifically use taurine to help maintain the health of the optic nerve and maintain their heart health. Other animals like dogs and people, taurine, it's important, but am I going to die without the deficiency? Probably not. Cats, absolutely. So it's important to know, although no matter the being, we all need the amino acids, the building blocks. But some of our bodies use different building blocks than others. Here we have the recommended protein. This is just called a dosage. This is how general we can figure out how much protein should this canine be getting. And they should be getting 2, that G is grams, per 10 kilograms of body weight. So for every 10 kilograms, they should be taking in 2 grams. And this is a daily dosage. For cats, cats need a much, much higher protein. They need 3 to 4 grams per kilogram of body weight. These are just some acronyms. This is just some terminology. DMB stands for dry matter basis. Now, when we're discussing protein, when you're eating the steak, when you're eating the chicken, a large part of the weight is water. Well, if I want to accurately determine how many grams of protein I'm getting, the first thing I've got to do is take away the water weight. The water should not be contributing to the overall amount that I'm feeding this animal. So dry matter basis means that I have removed the moisture. If you've ever dehydrated anything or eat jerky, eat like beef jerky, if you've ever made your own beef jerky, you take the strips of beef, and they're nice, big, plump, thick strips of beef. You put them into the dehydrator and they come out like little bits of leather. It removes all of the water. And that's what we need to do, but on more of a mathematical basis. As fed means I have not removed the water. It's just, how is the food coming out of the package, water included? And then our metabolizable energy is the amount of energy that my body is actively using. Just because I take it in doesn't mean my body's going to use it. There's a lot of determining factors. Did my body have the ability to pull it apart? Did my body need that specific building supply? So the ME, or the metabolizable energy, is the amount of energy that my body can then use. So wet food, we're going to talk about wet versus semi-moist versus dry. And these are all just different amounts of water. Now, the percentage of water in the food is always going to be on the package. And in fact, if we get down here, in just a couple of slides, we're going to learn how to mathematically remove the water so that we can determine how much dry matter protein is in the food for calculation. So we're going to do that here in just a second. A little bit of math. Although honestly, you guys, I am in heck right now. I am in HE double hockey sticks, because not only was I incapacitated for 4 days, my summer classes started Monday. And let's see if you can determine, this is my 4 days worth of notes. 4 days. Let's see if you can figure out what one of the classes are that I had to take.
College algebra.
Yeah. College flipping algebra. Leanna, I hate it so much. Look at this. Look at this. Pages and pages. And there's more pages. I hate it. And there were 13 assignments due this week. Those are the assignments. Every assignment had a series of videos that you had to watch. I'm not going to get through it. I have not been able to sit at a computer. Oh my gosh, it's insane. It's crazy. I hate it so much. Anyway, there. Welcome to my personal heck. Oh, and my government class started too. So trust me, you guys, I am feeling your student stress right now. I got you. All right. The government class is really pretty easy because it's just typing papers and I'm a very good writer. No, yeah, JK, Sean, I wish. Trust me, if I was going to take 4 days off, it would not be to sit and do math for 10 hours a day. Just saying. All right, so let's talk about cats. Cats are aliens. We know they're aliens. We've talked about their alien DNA. Different than any other animal on the planet. Cats have different nutritional needs. Their bodies work differently. Their reproductive systems work differently. Everything about them is different. So literally every other rule that we use for every other animal does not apply to cats. Cats have a need for high protein diets, as we know, and they cannot break down their own stored body fat. So we want to limit the amount of sugars that we give them to limit the amount of adipose that they form. Because cats cannot break down stored energy, they have to take in new sources of energy all of the time, right? They can't go 8-10 hours in between meals, because when you eat breakfast and then you go 10 hours and 10 hours later you eat dinner, in between that time, you are breaking down your own body tissue. Every time your blood glucose drops, your body reacts, starts breaking down adipose, and brings your blood glucose back up. Cats can't do this, at least not efficiently. So every time a cat's glucose starts to drop, they go to the food bowl and they eat a little bit, and that raises up their blood glucose. And that's why free feeding cats is the best way, unless there's some medical issue. Because cats will go to the food bowl 12 to 20 times a day. Yeah, 12 to 20 times a day. Well, this is where you as technicians need to educate your owners, because owners don't know this. And what they do is they look at the cat goes to the food bowl, they pick out 2 or 3 kibbles, and then strut and stalk away in their very haughty cat-like derision. And the owner goes, well, he only ate 2 or 3 little pieces. I guess he doesn't like the food. I should change the food. Now, how well do cats deal with change? They don't. They don't deal with change at all. So we need to educate the owners that the cat may just go and take 2 or 3 little pieces, whatever it is that they need at the time. They are dependent on gluconeogenesis, specifically external gluconeogenesis. They are dependent on the creation of new glucose from an outside source. So they have very little energy in reserve. Now, this is important because cats are aliens. I don't know how many more times I can say it. Cats are aliens. Cats are the great actors of the planet. And when they feel sick, they won't show it. To show any kind of weakness is, in the wild, very detrimental. And so a cat will pretend that they feel great, no problems, no worries, until they're dead. They'll just be like, hey, I'm happy, I feel good, dead, because their little bodies just stop compensating. So when a cat gets sick, their energy needs go up. And if they're not taking in new sources of energy, then we've got a problem. They can't break down their own stored energy, but their energy needs have gone up. We get into this huge catch-22. If they start trying to break down sources for energy, we've talked about this a million times. It gloms up their liver. They get fat accumulating in their liver. So Deanna, both. They are utilizing proteins at a much higher dependency, and they can't break down stored energy. So for both, they're relying on the external gluconeogenesis because they need the increased amount of protein, and they can't get an energy source from their stored adipose. Here's a cat in liver failure. This is a cat whose liver has gotten all glommed up with fat. And this is a condition called jaundice. Jaundice is when a specific toxin that the liver is supposed to filter out, well, if the liver is not doing its job, it doesn't filter anything out. The toxin builds up in the blood and it turns all of the tissues yellow. These are not photoshopped. This is actually what it looks like. They turn this highlighter yellow. So what we're going to do now is the dreaded M word, math. But don't worry, this is not going to be linear equations or finding the domain and ranges, and I don't even know what else is happening right now in my brain. What we need to do is we need to try and figure out how much protein is this food contributing to my animal. And by calculating this, I can take pet food A and compare it to pet food B. Now this works best comparing like a wet food to a dry food. Wet food is mostly water, dry food is not. But what I need to do is mathematically remove that water and calculate the percentage of dry matter protein to start evaluating these foods on a more even keel, on a more even basis. So what we're looking at with crude protein, here's where the people that named things in nutrition were kind of jerky. They were kind of a jerk face. Crude protein has nothing to do with the percentage of protein. Of course not. Why would it? Crude protein has to do with the amount of nitrogen. Protein in itself contains about 16% nitrogen. Now, honestly, we could do an entire class of nothing but the nitrogen makeup of our amino acids. We're not gonna. We're not going that deep. We are simply going to know that on average, protein contains about 16% nitrogen. The lower the quality or the lower the quantity, the lower the nitrogen. Well, the lower the quantity, the lower the nitrogen. The higher the quantity, the higher the nitrogen. If I have more protein, I have got more nitrogen. And we're going to use this premise to figure out which of these foods has more protein by measuring the amount of nitrogen. The one that has more nitrogen, ipso de facto, we can assume also contains more protein. So here's what we're going to do.
I'm sorry, Ms. Huff. Could you repeat that again, the higher or lower part?
Absolutely. So what I have is a little handful of protein. And I am going to measure, now in my measurement land, I cannot see the amount of protein. Like, oof, imagine, oh gosh, here, visual aid, visual aid. Ugh. I have dropped dog food on my computer. I have here some dog food. So look at this dog food and tell me how much protein is in it. Can't do it. What I can do is take the information given to me on the package referring to the nitrogen. The more protein I have, the more nitrogen I'm also going to have. Protein contains nitrogen. Therefore, if I have more protein, I have more nitrogen. And so, Hannah, I'm going to get to that in just a second. So high quantity, high nitrogen, right? If nitrogen is in protein and I have more protein, I have more nitrogen. Does that make sense? If I don't have a lot of protein, I don't have the nitrogen, low nitrogen. Now, the thing that can kind of futz this up, I said futz this up, is the quality, because low quality, crappy protein also contains more nitrogen. So I could have a small amount of crappy protein, but have it have a super high nitrogen number. I could have a large amount of high quality protein and also have a high number. And so this is where, when we get into our pet food label interpretation, that we're going to try and figure out the difference between a good and a bad food. Because when I'm measuring the nitrogen, the thing is, guys, about pet food companies, let's get real here for a second. Pet food companies do not have to tell us an awful lot about what is in the food that we buy. There's a kibble right here, and this kibble contains fats and sugars and proteins and vitamins and minerals and water. But there is nowhere that tells me how much protein, what's the quality of the protein, what kind of amino acids contribute to the protein. Absolutely nothing. So what I have to do is I have to try and glean the little bit of information that they give us and use that to determine and extrapolate whatever data I can. It's very frustrating, very frustrating. So right now, we are going to assume that the foods that we're measuring are of an average protein amount and quality, or not amount, of quality. They're neither the best you can get or the worst you can get. They're a middle of the road. What we are going to do is we are going to use this calculation to try and figure out, if I have a wet food and a dry food, how do I know which one has more protein? Simply measuring the quantity. They have the exact same type of protein. I want to know which one has more. Oh, yeah, guys, dog treats are amazing. And in fact, if you want a super, super, super cheap snack, go to PetSmart and pick up some of their PetSmart cookies. There's one that looks like a vanilla Oreo, where it has the 2 wafers and like a cream in the center. Oh, they are so good. They're delicious.
Are you sure you're not thinking Petco? They have that little treat bar.
Yeah, Petco, that's it. The treat bar, which they don't have anymore because of COVID, but it's all prepackaged. Yes, Petco. Treat bar. The little wafer cookies with the icing on the middle. Oh my God, they're amazing. And then they have a carob chip cookie. No, they're made for dogs, but I find them delicious and they're super cheap. And I think it was with the Onyx, the group right ahead of you. One of my students worked at Petco and brought in a big bag of the snacks and we passed them around. Oh my God, you guys, they ate the whole bag of snacks. If I brought them in and didn't tell you, you would never know. You would never know. They're amazing. And the carob chip are just like chocolate chip cookies. They're amazing. So maybe I'll buy some and I'll bring them in. Oh, no, but you have to try it because they really are amazing. You have to, if I, you know what? I know a very easy way to make you guys do whatever I want you to do.
That's not fair.
Yeah, it is. Extra credit. You got it, Melissa. Extra credit. Everybody who tries a cookie and eats it will get 5 extra points on their next test.
How much do I?
You have to eat a whole cookie and swallow it. So, yes, they're delicious. And I might try and pick some up this weekend. And we'll see. We'll see how I feel. All right, so here we've got a case study. I have got 2 types of food, and I want to find out which one of them has more protein. I have a canned food and a dry food. Canned food is mostly water, dry food is not. Now, what I want to do is I want to take the information given to me on the package, and I want to try and figure out which of these foods, in fact, has a higher quantity, more protein. So one of the things that you are given from the package is the amount of crude protein. Now, here's the issue, is that Joe Schmo on the street looks at crude protein and thinks what? That this percentage actually pertains to the amount of protein, which we now know not the case. It pertains to the amount of what? Nitrogen. But Joe Schmo is going to look at these 2 foods right here and see this food has 25% and this food only has 8%. And they're going to assume which one has more protein. Well, obviously, if I'm just looking at this, duh, 25% is way more than 8%. I don't need a stupid college algebra class to tell me that. God, I'm really butthurt about this class, guys. I don't think I'm going to get through it. I don't know. Guys, here's just for me, for right now, I have no idea how to use this. None. I couldn't figure out how to turn it off. I don't know. And she's like, just use your calculator to graph the thing. And I'm like, is there a YouTube video that shows me how to use this stupid thing? And this thing is like freaking $100. Sorry, I'm very emotional about this class right now. Well, no, okay, just between you guys and me and obviously this recording. So it's only a 4-week class. So I kept all the packaging and I'm just going to return it when I'm done. Yeah, I got the packaging and I'm just gonna be like, I didn't end up needing it, or it was the wrong one for the class. Scandalous. All right, so let's use our fancy computer, of which I only know how to add and subtract because I did figure out how to turn it on. Ha, look at the magic. It's on. Took me like an hour to figure that one out. I know how to do basic calculations. So the first thing we have to do, yeah, thanks, Lizette. It took me an hour to figure that out. Or you just leave it on and it turns off by itself. Found that one out too. So I might bring this calculator, and one of you guys who's super great at math, I will trade you nutrition tutoring or anatomy tutoring for math tutoring. That's what I need. Or take the batteries out. Leanna, you're hilarious. All right, so let's do some math because I haven't done enough of that this week. Your math is way easier though. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we need to take out the water. We need to remove the water because I need to get the water weight. I don't want it to contribute to the overall volume. How do I find out how much water is in the food? This is another thing the package will provide. My canned food on the package tells me that 75% of this food is water. So the food in the package equals 100% of the food, right? This is 100% of the kibble. Of that food, 75% is water. So how do I find out what percentage is not water? I subtract the water. So I'm going to take the whole volume of food, which is 100%, and I'm just going to simply subtract the water, which tells me I don't even have to do as what Charles is saying. I'm just doing basic subtraction. This is as easy gets. I take all of the food. I know that 75% of the food is water. I want to find out how much of the food is not water, so I subtract the water. So I now know that 25% of this food is not water. We also refer to this as the dry matter. Makes sense. It's dry. It's got no more water. I took the water out. So we can see here, oops, come on, pen, that 100% of the food, and we're going to do this for both, 100% of the food, the water was given to me on the package. That's something that will always be given to me. I want to find out how much is not water. So I subtract the water and I get not water. We refer to that as the dry matter. Do the exact same thing for the dry food. The amount of moisture is given to me on the package. This is a number you will never have to guess. Never have to guess, always given to you. I do the exact same thing. So if I know 10% of this food is water, and I want to find out how much is not water, I subtract the water, and I get 90% not water, or dry matter. Everybody on board so far? All right, now here's where we get into a formula. What I am now going to do is I'm going to find the percentage of crude protein. Where do I find this? On the package. The amount of water and the amount of crude protein given to you. Because remember, this fat food had 8% crude protein that was given to us. This had 25% crude protein. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the crude protein and divide it by the not water. So I got my 8% from the package. I'm going to divide it by the not water, the dry matter. So 8% from the package divided by 25% not water. Turn it into a decimal or a percentage, 32%. And you can use your fancy calculator if you so choose. 8 divided by 25 and then multiply by 100 gives you the 32%. Does everybody see how I got that? That's it. That's all the math we're doing. So this food has estimated protein, because it's only an estimation, of 32%. The kibble, we're going to do the exact same thing. 25%. Where did I get that? From the package. 90% not water or dry matter. We got that from here. I take my crude protein, divide it by my dry matter. That's exactly right, Sean. Multiply by 100 to get my estimated protein. So Sean, if you are an algebra person and you like putting letters into your math, which I don't care for at all, I hate it. I hate it more than the equine class, you guys. I hate this class so much. I was like, I had a fleeting thing like, do I really need to get a bachelor's degree? I could just stop and, you know, just chalk it up to experience. So if you like formulas, Sean, if you look at the chat, Sean has very kindly given you the algebraic formula. Your crude protein divided by your dry matter multiplied by 100 equals X, or your estimated protein. So we have our crude protein divided by our dry matter, multiply by 100 to give us our estimated protein. And so what we see here, let me erase all of this drawing on here. So what we see here is we had a crude protein of 8% and a crude protein of 25%. And when we in fact did our calculation, this one had a higher estimated protein. Even though the crude protein was much, much less, remember this has nothing to do with the amount of protein, this is nitrogen. When we did our calculation, we now see that the wet food does in fact have a higher percentage of protein. Now again, if you're comparing a dry food to a dry food, this calculation is really not going to help you. This calculation is going to be helpful when we are simply looking at foods with different water contents, a wet food versus a dry food, or even a semi-moist versus a dry food.
So whenever food is dried out, so is that where the protein is lost at whenever they remove the water?
Not necessarily. The reason why our crude proteins are this is our nitrogen content. However, when I add a ton of water, it dilutes out the number. So even though this had a greater amount, so what this percentage is, this 32%, is telling me the actual contribution of nitrogen to this food, which in turn gives me an idea of how much protein. So that's why we're looking at this saying that we're not going that deep. We're just going to simply say, we're going to guess that there's about 32% protein in this food. But the reason why it had more actual protein, but had a much, much smaller nitrogen number is because of the amount of water. When you add water to something, it dilutes it out. It dilutes everything out. And it changes the percentages based on the dilution rate. Less water, I don't have the same dilution. So here my nitrogen is not as diluted, and it gives it what appears to be a higher percentage. The actual contribution of the protein, though, is 28%. So kibble has a lot of other nutrients. You're absolutely right. When we're looking at dry matter, we're not just looking at protein. We're looking at the carbs and the fats, et cetera, et cetera. But because protein is the highest contribution to the food, and the other nutrients are a relatively small contribution, this 32%, and that's why it's estimated, this 32% right here is including the carbs and the fats, everything not water. But because protein has the highest contribution, we can use this 32% not water as the estimated protein. So Alexis has got some money stuff up here, and absolutely. So if I take a teaspoon of protein powder into 2 cups, and in this cup, I only add 10% of the volume of water. But in this cup, I fill the water all the way to the top. They still have the same amount of protein, but in order to measure, because now I'm looking at these 2 cups and I'm like, I would like to know how much protein is exactly in each of these cups. I have to take the water away because just simply looking at it as a whole, the water has diluted the protein in this one versus this one. That's why we're taking and using this calculation. If you are still looking at this like, I have no idea, I took this case study directly out of your textbook. So if you want to go back into Big Bertha and look up this case study, or try your own, go to the grocery, find a canned food, take a picture of the package, find a dry food, take a picture of the package. Oh, God. Oh, gosh. All right. I don't have dry food package. I do have a wet food package. So find your bag of kibble. Ooh. So here I've got a can of dry or a can of wet food. And what I'm going to do, this is kind of hard to see, the guaranteed analysis. Look at what the first thing listed is. The crude protein at 11%. That's a given. So if I were I'm using this canned food as my pet food A. Crude protein my crude protein equals 11%. Got that from the package. My moisture is 75%. Got that from the package. So the first thing I need to do is find out not water. I take 100, I subtract the water, and I get my dry matter. Now I just plug into my formula. My crude protein divided by my dry matter times 100. I'm going to use my fancy $100 calculator that I don't know how to use. So we get 44 estimated protein. And then we could take some dry food and extrapolate the exact same data and compare them. So that is all we've done. We're just taking the data off the package. We're doing this simple formula, and we can get our estimated protein. And this is good, as I said, for sharing or comparing, not sharing, comparing foods of different moisture contents. So my challenge to you this weekend, go find and take a screenshot of a canned food. And then take a screenshot and find the same information on the dry food. You want to find the crude protein percentage and the moisture percentage. I then want you to calculate out and compare the two estimated proteins. And this is something that you're going to hand in to me. I've decided just now. I've decided. So you guys who are coming in on Monday, those of you who are coming in on Wednesday, you can hand it in on paper. So you're going to write out what is the name of the food. You're going to bring the crude protein and the moisture content. Show me your calculation. Write out the name of the dry food. Write out the crude protein. And yeah, you know what, Hannah, that's fine. As we're mainly just practicing doing the formula. So any wet food or dry food, because obviously the cat food is going to have much more. But just to practice the formulas. So I want you to find a wet food and compare it to a dry food, and then tell me which one has the higher estimated protein. And you can hand these in on Monday.
Do they have to be like the same brand of wet food and dry food?
Nope, it does not. Does not have to be the same brand. You can pick any wet food, any dry food, and you will do one dry food and one wet food and compare the two. Because you're going to see when you're looking at just the crude protein, those numbers are very different than the numbers you get from the estimated protein after you've gone through your calculation. So, and you can go, you don't have to buy anything. You don't have to do, Charles, you can go online and Google Beneful canned food, and it will show you and give you all of the nutritional information. All of this information is online. So you don't even have to leave your house. Or you can go confuse the Petco people and just be taking photographs of the food. So, but that's what you're going to do. You're going to compare a canned food A wet food to a canned food B dry food. Any other comments, questions, or concerns? Time flies when we are having fun. No, you don't have to give me the picture. I was just thinking, or if you go, you can even just write them down. I don't care. You don't have to give me a photograph. I will trust that you went and researched how much crude protein is in the food. All right, any other comments, questions, or concerns? Fabulous. All right, you guys have a most wonderful weekend. I will see you on Monday. Might be a little, rough, worse for wear, but I will be there on Monday and we will continue. So you guys have.
It's just good to see you again and moving.
I am moving. I'm moving kind of slow. I'm having to use one of these to get me around, but it's very fancy.
Ms. Huff,
Yes.
will our finals be the week of June 21st?
Yeah, the finals will be the last week of the term.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And I think, Naisha, you can stay after and we can, I think it was you that needed to chat.
Oh, that's all. That was my question.
Oh.
I'm leaving June 11th through June 14th to be out of town with my family. So I was wondering when we were had our finals.
Yeah, well, I can't talk for everybody else, but I can tell you that my finals will be the last day of the term.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
those will be on the last day of the term.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course.
Ms. Huff,
Yes.
I like to read ahead. I'm kind of a nerd that way. So A and P, what's our next after cardio? What do you think is our next topic? So I could kind of read ahead.
Respiratory.
Respiratory. Okay, great.
Yeah. Cardiovascular and respiratory kind of go hand in hand.
Okay.
So we'll finish cardio and then delve right into respiratory. And respiratory is such a tiny little chapter.
Yeah.
And then after that, we will have 3 other chapters, digestion, 4, digestion, nervous, endo, and urinary.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of the order you had them on
Mhm.
Moodle. So I just made sure, just in case, I wanted to start my test yourself questions.
Yeah, the next chapter will definitely be the respiratory chapter.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
hopping on the test yourself, will you be opening it for the full day Monday, since I assume you don't have your stuff to open it quite yet to turn it in?
Yeah, I will. It'll be open. I'll open it Monday. And so you can turn it in anytime between Monday and like Wednesday, because the test will be like Tuesday at 3, close Wednesday at 7, and you'll have that entire time to hand them in.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome.